hopefully you can recognize that this question is testing absolute value, and there is a fact about absolute value that you do need to memorize, but you do not need to worry about how to actually solve this equation. If you're thinking in those terms, you're going way too algebraic here. We have an amazing situation. They're asking for the greatest possible solution, and guess what? We only have 4 possible solutions in our answer choices. This is a huge opportunity to guess and check. Just take the greatest number, which is 9, and test it out. And so we're going to need to know how this absolute value works, but it's much simpler. I think this is something that most people know. I'll show you the other rule in a second. But if we do this, we hopefully can remember that when we have a number in those absolute value bars, a simplified number, that if it's negative will become positive. So the absolute value of -2 is 2. This checks out. We basically get 2 equals 2, and just that's it. That's the answer. So that's really great for us, but a lot of people are going to try to solve this the more algebraic way because of just habit. And look, if this were in one of those grid-in questions, we would need to do the algebraic solution. So I'm going to show it to you, but if you've got the opportunity to guess and check, just take it. Please make your life easier. The way that we deal with absolute value in math class in school is that it forces us to generate 2 equations. And so one of them is really straightforward. Just ignore the absolute value bars and rewrite the equation. 7 minus x is equal to 2. And then you can solve that equation just like normal algebra. You would get -x is equal to -5. So x is equal to 5, which sure enough is an answer choice. And that is the route that most people would take if they were solving this question. They would forget about the other route they need to take, which is to create a second equation to account for the negative answer. So that would be 7 minus x is equal to -2, right? Because that absolute value can produce a negative or turn a negative into a positive. So we have to account for that by generating 2 separate equations and solving them both. And in this case, when we do, we see -x is -9, so x is 9. That is the greatest one. That's the same thing we got before, but notice it's a little bit more of a tedious way to solve it, and it is more prone to traps and errors because you're more likely to just remember the positive and just ignore the fact that there's this negative thing that can kind of happen. So it's better if we can start with the numbers through guess and check and just see all that change happen, all that absolute value stuff happen with a specific number instead of having to deal with the solution with the algebraic thinking.